Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode number 93 of Those Muckrakers. I'm Pete.
And I'm Pat.
We have almost made it 100 episodes of this bullshit, and still there's like a couple people listening to us, which is great because I finally feel like a midnight AM radio host.
I've kind of felt like that for a long time now. Like I'm just sort of shouting into the mic in the void, but also because it's the AM and not the PM, I'm just sort of losing energy throughout the episode. So, everything I have to say just becomes so much more low-key as it goes on. So I'm just kind of the Nightfly radio disc jockey.
We come up with so many cool names that we could have used. We could have been like those Night Flyers, you know what I mean? Or like, I don't know, anything better than the fucking mouthful that we fucking, picked.
Pete and Pat the Night Flies, and then we upload our episodes at like 3 a.m. And then for like first 5 listeners, they get a T-shirt or something. They prove their dedication to us by staying up that late. Yeah, I like that theme.
I'm not gonna
Too
lie.
late now. None of y'all get T-shirts. I'm just like spitballing ideas of what could have been.
I've put more effort into this than I have into most of my relationships.
I mean, yeah, this has lasted longer than most of your relationships. Most of either of our relationships. I just realized that. We've been going for more than a year now. Almost 2 years.
I think it's time that one of us pops the question and asks the podcast to marry us.
Oh no, it's going to be a love triangle because the other one will be left out in the cold.
No, man. It's 2019, man. Thruples are a thing.
I guess so. Or like one of us could marry it and the other one get cucks it or something.
Those cuckrakers.
Those cuckrakers.
Pat's going to do the podcast and I'm going to watch from the corner.
But that would also go back to like one of our earliest intros where we're all like, we're those lying liberal cucks, etc., etc. George Soros paid. I miss those old intros.
I feel like I miss George Soros. Is he dead?
He's still alive. The MAGA bomber.
Liberal conspiracy. Like, I like that there was a meme once where someone goes, okay, let's say that the liberal conspiracy is real. What are the liberals trying to do? Give you health care, income equality, and like reasonable wages? Oh, the horror. And I go, yeah, you got a good point. Like,
I mean, the people, the opposition on the right aren't our best and brightest folks. They've got lots of problems.
They're pretty fucking bright. Like, they've been running the game. I just watched.
I'm talking about the voters, not the people in charge.
I'm talking about the political operators. Yeah. Those smooth fucking operators, like old Turtle Man Mitch McConnell.
And to be clear, just because someone's a Trump voter doesn't mean that they are 100% bad at everything. I mean, they could still be very, very smart in some areas. Like, Ben Carson, brilliant brain surgeon, right? But like the guy's a moron when it comes to politics. I'm
calling that into question. Can we get anybody to testify they had brain surgery from Ben Carson?
Probably not, because he worked on their brain. I mean, they'd have lost their frontal lobe and couldn't speak anymore.
I just wonder if he's one of those weird things where like someone else actually used him as cover to do all the brain surgery.
I have removed his medulla oblongata, and now his anger knows no bounds.
Ben, that's a chair. Ben, you've been operating on a chair for 2 hours.
You removed all the cotton from the seat.
Oh, my wife must have bought it. I gotta
go. Oh, my luggage. And then he runs off.
Fucking Ben Carson. So we wanted to start this thing with a very special Dear Wesley, which is close to my heart because you are a reformed smoker and I am still caught in the delicious jaws of nicotine addiction currently in my life. And God, I want to quit.
Oh, you went back to it again already?
God, man, yeah, that did not. I was having a rough time. I don't know. I'm going to the doctor. I'm medicating. I talked to the doc. I got to go to the doctor. I'm like, can you give me drugs to make me stop smoking? And she was like, yes, but you have to come in to get them. And I'm like, oh, you can't just send them to me.
Do you like going for a shot, or how does this work?
I think you take a pill and it makes you suicidal, but it also makes you not want to smoke, which is what not smoking does to me anyway. It makes me suicidal, but I still want to smoke.
My guess is that there are no side effects, but without smoking, you just become suicidal. And so they're like, well, we've observed suicidalism in this guy, so it must be from the pill. Yeah, it's not the pill. It's you want to fucking cut your wrists when you're trying to quit smoking because life sucks.
So I'm gonna try
super hard.
Yeah, I'm gonna try a mixture of like Xanax, Chantix, and therapy.
Yep, Chantix. That's what it was called. I remember that now. All those commercials with like the blue blob walking along the ground.
Yeah. I am the blue blob right now, and I'd like to be a smoke-free blue blob.
Did it turn into a white blob when it became smoke free? Because like the blue was its depression. I don't. It's been a while since I've seen those commercials, but I always wanted to try Chantix when I was a smoker because I'm like, I wonder if that would work. But then they're all like suicidal thoughts and tendencies. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't. So,
Well, at this point, smoking's gonna kill me anyway, so I might as well try something.
I think you should just try another cruise. Like that's what worked last time, right?
It did, but I was also in a very rough relationship, so the relationship drove me back to smoking.
Well, but now you're not in that bad of a relationship, so
I'm in a
just
great,
like one more cruise could fix it.
If she ever listens to this, which I hope she won't, because I don't like to expose my friends and loved ones to my art. But it's a really great relationship, and like she's super supportive.
I have quite a few friends that I keep like telling them I do this podcast, but none of them ever ask for links or anything. So I'm like, well, I guess you don't care.
Yeah,
so,
I don't.
Odds are they'll never hear it. But anyway, you said if she ever hears it, what now?
I said, I was complimenting her on being a wonderful human being, because the other day I was on like day 4 of quitting smoking, and she was with me, and I know I was just being a grump, and I said like, yeah, well, I guess you're the kind of girl who wants a guy who's a grump in the streets and a sweetie in the sheets. And she started laughing.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, when quitting smoking, sex helps. But you can't have sex all the time. What is like 28 days to really get over it?
Yeah. So 28 days straight. Got to do something with your oral fixation.
Yeah, exactly. And just ain't nobody wants that. All right. So the Dear Wesley says, Dear Wesley, smoker's wife draws a line in the bedroom until he quits. I think that's going to go badly.
So literal line?
No, I don't think she painted a white line in the bedroom like it's a 90s sitcom. I think
it to Beaver.
You're about to find out. So, my wife and I have been married 27 years. We love each other and raised 2 beautiful children together. No one, you notice no one ever raises ugly children together? No one's ever like, I love my wife, and we raised 2 hideously ugly children together.
I love my wife, and I love the 3 beautiful children we raised, and I lament the 4th ugly child, which we threw over the rocks like we were Spartans.
The 4th one that we had to lock in the basement because of our family shame.
I was picturing just throwing him off the cliff like
until those damn Goonies broke him out.
Until the damn
goddamn Goonies, get out of my basement.
Yep.
So
all right. So
when we started dating, we were both smokers. My wife quit 20 years ago, but I continued.
Jesus. And she's been able to live with someone that keeps smoking while she quit? That's not easy.
So 2 years ago, my wife told me no more sex until I quit. Wesley, I smoke
did
only
you say
about...
2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
He hasn't had sex in 2 years, or has she broken?
It sounds like she hasn't broken. So this guy says, Wesley, I smoke... I only smoke about 15 cigarettes a day, and never in the house or car. I know
that's a lot of cigarettes, by the way. Like I used to smoke more, but 15's a fuckload. If he's I only smoke 2 or 3, I'd be like, that's still too many.
I was waiting for, because when I started reading, I thought he was going to say, oh, I only smoke like 2 or 3 cigarettes a week, 15 a day. Dude, you're a hardcore smoker.
That's a normal smoking. Those are normal smoking amounts, right? Like,
yeah.
Ozzy's been a smoker his whole life, and he only smokes like 10 a day.
Yeah.
Probably fewer than that now.
Is it 20 cigarettes to a pack?
Yeah, 20 to a pack.
Yeah, so this guy's almost a pack a day habit. And you know that if he's saying 15, it's more. You know he's a pack and a half a day guy.
Probably. Like hell, I was a pack and a half a day guy when I smoked. Sometimes 2, but if it was a long day. But
I know it's terrible for my health and I need to quit, but I enjoy it. So it has been 2 years since we've had any intimate contact. I barely can get a kiss out of her because she says she can't stand the smell. I'm only 50 and I enjoy having sex. I don't know how much more of this I can take. Is my wife right by putting her foot down like this? She has never been a big fan of sex, but she's always satisfied me. I think this is her way of avoiding sex. I know she's doing it because she loves me, but I have a hard time accepting it. I've tried numerous times to quit. I've used medication, hypnosis, gum, etc. All to no avail. Please help.
So let me jump into Wesley's response.
Well, you see, whenever she says no sex until you quit smoking, what she actually means is no sex with her until you quit smoking. What you gotta do is go out and get you a hooker, and then you can have all the sex you want. Because fuck her, I'd never quit smoking myself. I smoke 37 cigarettes a minute. Nom 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 nom. Did you know that my room was actually declared by the National Environmental Protection Agency Nicotine National Park? And warning signs are put outside of it that says, for every 2 minutes you stay in my room, you lose 3 years off your life. Oh.
I love this. I smoke 37 cigarettes every minute. Wesley, who I love, does Wesley still smoke, by the way?
Yeah.
Bad Wesley. Wesley used to smoke and he probably still does. Wesley would smoke some cheap ass fucking like. These are the cheapest cigarettes you can get because they're probably the worst for you, but they're also the worst smelling. We'd all be smoking inside.
I know the name. It was Swisher Sweets cigar cigarettes. They're like these brown wrapped cigarettes that they're awful, and they reek enough that I, without a sense of smell, could still like taste them strongly in the air. So I know everyone else could smell it.
They were so bad, people would leave a smoking section when he lit up. They were so bad that when we all smoked inside the house, somebody would open a window when he lit up. You know what I mean? He was so bad, people quit when he started smoking.
Yep.
But I digress. I'm actually going to read the response that they wrote on the internet. But before that, I guess I'm going to go in with my usual response. What a bitch! You can't strong arm somebody out of an addiction. That's not how it works.
I do agree with that. I mean,
have you maybe supported this dude? Maybe medication, gum, and this, maybe that stuff would have worked, but like just selling somebody, that'd be like telling somebody like, I'm going to karate chop you in the crotch until you quit smoking. You think that makes them more likely to quit smoking or just more likely to avoid your fucking crotch karate chops?
Yeah, like I can't emphasize this enough. It is really, really fucking hard to quit smoking.
Yeah.
I was a smoker for a very long time, and I tried to quit so many times during that stretch of time. It took a phenomenal effort to actually get through it, and only with the experiences of having tried to quit so many times and all the lessons learned and all the bullshit that I read on how to quit smoking and picking up little hints and tips along the way, just like dozens and dozens of little things, sort of converged at the perfect, during the perfect storm in my life where a lot of other stuff was changing, that I was able to just like break through and stay off of smoking for so long that I was able to stay off it. And then it's just like with an absolute iron will that I've never touched another cigarette again. And also with the forethought to tell myself if I could get off this, I would never, take even one puff off it again. Like the other day, some people were smoking these vapes. No tobacco, no pot, nothing was in it. It was just like flavored vapes. And I still, wouldn't touch it because I don't want to do anything that's even similar to smoking cigarettes. I can't do anything. I can never let myself do that again because I know I can't trust myself.
You know what doesn't help people? Yeah. You know what doesn't help people deal with addiction? More stress.
That too, and what helps people relieve stress is sex. Yeah. So, like you were saying the other day, you were able to, sex helps quit smoking. That actually ties into this. I just realized that if she would, if she wouldn't have stopped having sex with him, then maybe that could be used to help him get over the hump of quitting.
But I think they have some deeper intimacy problems, and it sounds like she was never into it. And he was too dumb to realize that this woman does not like having sex with me for whatever reason, which is weird. You made it into a 20-year marriage. You notice how he said, I was always satisfied, but he never mentions if she was satisfied?
That could be it. Maybe he's just, terrible. But
it sounds like
possible.
It sounds like they need to work on their intimacy, number one, because it seems like if she knows if he's never going to quit smoking and she draws that line, she doesn't ever have to have sex with him again because he'll never quit smoking. So it's perfect for her because she can shift the blame onto him and he can shift the blame onto her. But really, there's something broken in their marriage.
I don't understand why she hates sex so much. That's always the best 2 minutes of my day when we had it.
Right. But also, and when I say earlier, when I was like, what a bitch, I mean both of them. I don't just mean her. Just if you're a new listener, I just want you to know that when I call somebody a bitch, it's not derogatory towards women. It's derogatory towards the specific person I'm calling a bitch. And not just person. I've called objects bitches before.
Yes. Did you?
Yeah, the other day I tripped over a chair and I'm like, bitch-ass chair! So, you know, it's not towards any one specific group, but yeah.
I tend to do sons of bitches instead of bitch directly. Like, especially whenever I'm playing Pokemon Go, I'm like, you son of a bitch, fucking stay still. God damn it, stop attacking when I throw balls at you. You know, like...
Which is exactly what that guy said to his wife.
You stay still when I throw my balls at you. And then I can quit smoking.
Yeah. But, yeah, so, I don't know, man. I guess the theme of tonight is, listen, if you haven't picked up the habit, don't start. It's a monkey on your back you don't need.
And if anyone out there would like to help us save Wesley's life, start buying our books and giving us money, and then we'll be able to pay like a Sherpa to follow Wesley around at all time and like stick him with a cattle prod whenever he goes to smoke, and that way the negative reinforcement of being shocked whenever he tries to smoke will make him stop. And in the meantime, that would be hilarious.
If
like
I had
2-3 years from now, he'll be like smoking and electrocuted, his hair permanently standing up from being shocked so much. He's like Ernest P. Worrell with magnetic powers, still smoking. Didn't work at all.
You know, if I had the money, I would pay one of those like wayward youth camps, you know, where they take bad kids out to like the woods to teach them self-reliance. I'd pay one of them to kidnap him, so he's just out there with a bunch of juvenile delinquents not smoking.
I mean, that wouldn't work because Wesley would be like, well, they never searched my prison pocket, and he would just shit out like a bunch of cartons. Always keep them in there for an emergency.
Luckily, Dad started feeding me and Dylan cigarettes when we were 5, and I kept up the habit, so I constantly poop cigarettes if I have trouble. Like, he's just literally, like, he's just basically, like, he's just shitting out cartons of cigarettes.
Oh my God! And then he could pay like the delinquent children in cigarettes to find him a way out of there.
Yeah, that's why Wesley's going to rule. Wesley's going to rule prison, by the way.
Was he just going to be shitting cigarettes?
Yeah, he's going to be like an ATM machine. Well, he'll rule prison until they figure out that he's an ATM machine, and then things might get dark for him.
Oh yes, but I mean, in the meantime, he'll
every time I punch this guy, a carton of cigarettes falls out his ass. Hey, get over here.
Oh no, poor Wesley. But until then,
you're all my bitches now. Hoo-ha.
Speaking of prison, we haven't done this segment for a while. This is a segment of who in the Trump administration has gone to prison, or as like we like to call it, hold my pocket news. Hold my pocket. This one is a particularly delightful person going to prison. And I know that in the United States, prison means nothing for the rich and affluent, but it's still nice to at least kind of uphold the idea of justice. Famous Trump cock gobbler,
Roger
enabler, stealer of elections, murderer of democracy, lover of Nixon, Roger fucking Stone went to prison on 7 felony counts. Is that right?
Yep. It's accounts of lying to Congress about helping, Trump and Russia get together and rig the election.
Roger Stone was so cocky.
And lying to the FBI, but yeah.
Yeah, he was so cocky about all of this that he was just a made man. He made this video where he's like in a bar drinking vodka, and he's like, oh, look, I'm drinking Russian vodka. Fucking arrest me. And I think he was like fucking snowflakes or something dumb like that, right? Well, okay, boomer, enjoy prison.
Yep. So the fun thing about him is he's the guy that kept breaching the gag orders,
yeah,
which should have gotten him thrown in jail way before now until his sentencing, but it kept not happening, and he kept daring the judge to do something about it, including going so far as to threaten his judge's life. So, and he still was not thrown in prison or in jail early. And so all this time passed, his sentencing came down, and he was found guilty on all charges. Maybe you shouldn't threaten the judge's life next time. Maybe you should pay attention to the gag order next time. You got away with it because you're rich and white, but I get the feeling that you ain't going to be that rich no more, because before he gets out of prison, Trump's going to be gone, and so will most of the influences that had followed him up to this point.
So here's the thing that I want. There's a quote by Lincoln where he talks about the United States, and he says, the United States cannot exist half slave and half free. It will have to be all one or all the other.
A house divided cannot stand.
I believe that about justice. Now, I think that we need to... We either live in a country where everybody is treated equally under the law and sentenced equally and fairly, or there's just no fucking law and I can do whatever the fuck I want even though I'm poor.
Yep.
Just one standard. That's all I want. You know what I mean? Like, either we all go to jail or fucking it's the purge out there, baby. And I'm not saying I do great in the purge, but I do better than a lot of people.
Yeah, and It drives me crazy that drug charges can get people thrown away for such a fucking long time, but then the likes of Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort, they only get like a couple years for all their bullshit.
Did we talk recently about the 2 instances of cop justice that I've just recently watched?
Cop justice? No.
So there's an Arizona cop. There's a video going around right now of a cop in a boys' home or whatever, where you send, I guess, like orphans or bad kids or whatever. And there's a kid who's like double amputee. He's missing his arms and his legs. Did we talk about this last time?
No.
Oh,
That's
it's
the first
horrible.
I'm hearing about it.
So this kid's missing his arms and his legs, and he's in that home because he was like abandoned by his family. So he's like an orphan that had a family that goes, we don't want him. No arms, no legs. I guess gets into
he is not one of the beautiful children that they are raising.
We raised 2 beautiful children and one with no arms and legs that we threw out of our house. So this kid, from what we heard or what we read, he got mad and he got in an argument with staff at the boys' home and like threatened one of the staff and knocked over a trash can. How he knocked it over, I don't really know. But then there's a video of a fucking deputy who has all his arms and legs like on top of this kid, like trying to cuff him. Or I don't know if he's trying to. He's just fucking on top of a double amputee and like threatening the kid and all this, that, and the other. And I go, all right. So in all these like police videos, he could have complied. She should have complied. Blah 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 blah. They were threatening the officer's job is hard. I question you. What threat does a 15-year-old with no arms or legs pose to you?
I guess I mean. Remember in Monty Python and the Holy Grail when the Black Knight had his arms and legs cut off and they just kind of walked away from him at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that. Like, why? What? What's he even restraining him from? Was he, like, rolling around threateningly?
I guess, man. I guess rolling away from a peace officer. That's all I could imagine you could charge this poor fucking kid with. And so now they're, like, reviewing the video, and I go, what is there to review? This man should be fired and tarred and feathered and never allowed to be a cop again.
Cop lays on top of amputee.
It was horrendous. And he's like threatening him, like, it'd be like if Christopher Reeves was still alive.
A 15-year-old with no arms and legs was tackled and pinned. There's a horrific video. Fuck off, Washington Post. They have like an ad wall that popped up, and I'm not going to deal with that. So we are not going to get any more information from that. But
so my point is, we've reached a level of police brutality where we have to review the video of a cop fucking trying to rough up a double amputee, a minor, by the way, a minor and a double amputee. It's like I think people that are like full what is it? Is it paraplegic or quadriplegic?
Quadriplegic if you have nothing.
I think a quadriplegic should just be able to roll around and threaten whoever they want.
Yeah, I mean, they can't actually do anything. They could give you a nasty bite, I guess, but
I think you'd have to put your fucking like arm in their mouth, like.
I mean, they're not a snake. The human body's not designed to be able to like, snap at people like that. So,
well, their body doesn't work anyway. They're basically just a head on top of like a waiting organ transplant list,
Yeah.
I think if you're like a double, if you're like a quad amputee or whatever, you're like a you're like a quadriplegic, you should just be able to be like, I want to kill the president. And everyone goes, he earned it. His body doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, what's he going to do?
Exactly. And then there was, I watched these police brutality videos, and they're just so terrible. Like, there was one recently where this couple is waiting in a van to, like, I guess pick up their kids from their family, and an officer comes up and is like, give me your IDs. And, like, the old lady passenger is like, I don't want to. He yanks her out of the fucking car, and she's like, I'd like to speak to a supervisor. And then he's like throwing her on the ground and going, give me your arms! Ah! And she's like, I'd like to speak to a supervisor. And then at one point, he's like, put your arms behind your back. And she's like, they are behind my back. And they were. And then he fucking tases her.
Oh, my God.
And, like, her fucking son runs out. He's like, that's my mom. Y'all are tasing my... So the other cops got this dude cuffed on the ground. Like fully restrained, and the guy's screaming help, and then the first officer walks over and mashes his head into the concrete for no good reason and goes, when I say get your ID out, and then you look and the guy goes, I've got it in my hand, and it's like it's in like his little cuff, like he had his ID out, like just insanity. And the problem with these cops is even if they face any kind of justice to where they lose their jobs, they don't lose their cop certification, so they just go on to abuse people at another cop job.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Like, that's so unbelievable to me. Because you
Yeah.
know that, like, you can show this video, this video will probably never be shown to a court, right? Like, they'll find some reason to get it withdrawn from evidence because the cops will do that for each other. So they'll never be able to say, look, I had my my ID right here in my hand while he's stomping my head into the concrete.
I mean, like, goddamn, dude. Like, I mean, what in your life as a cop? Look, as a cop, I'm imagining that I want to do as little bullshit paperwork as possible because I imagine there's a lot of paperwork that comes with tasing anyone,
Probably.
and just like a lot of work. It's the same with
I
like.
wonder if there's like a secretary that has to do all that for the
No,
cops.
they
They
gotta
can just
do-
throw it to the rookie or something.
No, they got to do all the paperwork and they have to go to court for all that stuff. It's a pain in the ass. So, like, as a teacher, I don't just hand out write-ups to students because that's a whole bunch of work. So you really got to like earn it if I'm going to make an incident and call a dean and contact the parent. You know what I mean? It's a lot. Why would I willingly like just grab a random person and be like, "You're going to the date"? Like, why? What? I don't have time for that, man. Like, do these cops just not have that rich of a personal life? So they're like, man, I'm bored. I'm gonna set up some paperwork for me to do.
Tase someone. Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
what makes you so angry that you're like, I'm gonna tase an old bitch tonight?
maybe you're just way more empathetic than these cops are. Like, they don't.
It's not empathy.
They don't have
It's-
that kind of forethought to realize, oh shit, I'll have paperwork to do every time I tase someone.
It's not empathy. It's a healthy laziness. It's a healthy. It's not like if I was a cop, I would like not stop a bank robbery because of the paperwork. But as a cop, I'm not gonna be like, what's that guy doing? He watering his lawn? Why don't we shoot him? Like, just it's way too much. Like, even if I could just shoot him and walk away, like, too many questions are asked, man. Like, just live and let live. Just be chill. This is why I think we need police robots. I think this would be great.
For what we need are those. Have you ever seen like those creepy dogs that run around on four legs? It's a robot dog and it walks around on four legs and it's.
Oh, I
supposed
thought
to
you
not
were
be able to
describing
fall
a
over.
dog, and I'm like, yes, I've seen dogs run on four legs. I don't find it creepy, but to
No,
each
like
his
these
own.
are like robots with very tall legs and have like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
shit running at criminals. They will shit themselves and run, but they won't be able to outrun the untrippable dog.
Yeah, I think maybe you just have a cop stay in the car and release the police robot, and then the police robot goes and talks to the people, because robots don't have weird child emotions.
Yeah, that would be nice too. And in Detroit Become Human, you one of the main characters is a robot cop basically, and so he has to like talk people down from jumping off a ledge and stuff.
You know how great
So,
it would be
that's
if just
fun.
the robot cop just rolls up to your car and it was like, would please like ID? And then you're like, well, I don't wish to give you my ID. And then the cop robot's like, well, according to statute, you do not have to provide ID, but you know what I mean? Like, so like at the very least, like there's a conversation first before the fuckery begins,
Yeah, at least he would like read you the what do you call it? All the laws and statutes and explain to you. Yeah, this is illegal because of statute 4312 AC hyphen
Deploying
478.
taser. You know what I mean? Please lay on ground, because like that's the thing. Like I feel like once you comply with what the robot's asking, then you're good, right? Like if the robot's like provide ID and you do, the robot's not going to be like deploying taser, feeling
Listen-
threatened, feeling insignificant. Wife refused to have sex with me because I would not quit smoking. Murder, murder. Like.
Unless they like their scanners aren't working or something, because I've been playing this one thing, Ring Fit Adventure for the Switch, and if it's like lay down and I lay down, I'm like my legs are straight and it's just not detecting them. So it's like, are they not straight enough? Do I need to like lean back some?
I guess I could see that. Not laying down at full capacity. Emptying magazine into suspect. Covering up for murder. Planting weapon. He was a minority.
planting drugs, shooting cop. Must have alibi. Exterminate. He just runs and shoots the human cop. He was resisting this much.
I am sorry.
I am sorry, partner. Oh no, the dash cam is on. Destroying police car, driving it to the harbor, throwing it off the dock.
Just goes through a whole thing. The most logical way to hide a crime.
There is now a 37% chance I will get away with this. Probability high enough to be satisfactory. Resuming walking the beat.
I want to just do a continuing fucking thing just called The Adventures of Robot Cop. And it's just a robot we've just run thousands of cop scenarios through, and so it just does the things of all the worst cops, you know? Profiling, racially profiling Mexicans, exterminate.
Exterminate.
But yeah, fucking oh god, just some basic common sense training for police, I think, is just, and you know, part of it.
Oh right, I forgot we were talking about something.
Yeah,
right,
part of it, you know, part of it all comes back to this idea that we have set the police up like they're an occupying military force, and that's the mentality they carry. And
for a lot
really
of people, yeah, I like your version of the police better, where authorities are held to the highest levels of accountability, not the lowest. Like usually Trump voters prefer their authoritarian figures to be all powerful. So yeah, that's what a lot of them want.
I just want to see, if you're a cop and you are convicted of a crime while being a cop, I would like to see you driven out in the desert. This is my thing. I speak a lot of what I think should happen to authority figures on Judge Dredd. You know, on Judge Dredd, when you retired from being like on the judge council, you would be sent out into like the Great Waste with the Book of the Law to bring the law to the savages. And so I'm a big fan of, like, if you're a corrupt politician or a cop, we just drive you out into the desert or into the most dangerous neighborhoods in the country with like a book of the law, and your whole job is to like bring law to the lawless. No weapons, just educate them on the law.
Yar.
So, you know what I mean? If you're like some hillbilly cop that's like, I'm gonna fuck up some black people, guess where you're going, buddy? Compton. And you get a copy of California Penal Code, and that's it.
Yep.
Good fucking luck.
If your mentality in life is to follow Mein Compton, then you're going to Compton.
But yeah, man. I mean, I also think that cops should be forced to live in the highest crime neighborhoods in the city in which they serve.
That would be interesting, but then that would also put a lot of them away from their beats if they live in a very big city. They'd have to drive like 3 hours to their precinct or whatever.
Oh, whatever, man. You can figure it out, but I'm just saying, I think you should be part of the community you police. Anyway, so
If that is like your route, then yeah, you should probably be like in the middle of it. That way you'll actually know the territory.
Yeah.
But,
so anyway, yeah, that's just the thing on cops. We can harp on cops all day. But burping there. In the big news, we have been going through
story of the day.
The literal most boring impeachment hearings. And, you know, you talked earlier, you said, Pete, you sound like Fox News, because now their only defense is these impeachment hearings are so boring. We don't have a break-in or a sex scandal. And you're right. Impeachments have been way sexier in the past. But that's
pizzazz.
That's because they, I guess, want to just make it real cut, legal, and dry. That's why I guess they're not bringing all his crimes to light, because it would last 30 million years.
Yep.
But I listened to a little bit of it, and it's such a clear cut. By the way, I didn't realize what a piece of shit Giuliani was and how deep he is in all this shit.
You really didn't realize that?
I knew he was deep, but I didn't realize he's pretty at fault. So Trump does this thing where he makes a decision and he never backs down from it, right?
Right.
If he doesn't like chocolate ice cream, you'll never be able to get him to try chocolate ice cream, right?
Yep.
So because
he
of these
absolutely does like chocolate ice cream, though. It's more like if he doesn't like to eat fruit or vegetables, you'll never get him to try it, and he never did.
So like these fucking conspiracy theories that, like, you know, the bubble he lives in where people have been like, oh, you did win the popular election, it was just rigged, you know, for Hillary's favor. So all that, somehow that got around. Now the conspiracy theory is Ukraine hacked the election for Hillary. So he doesn't like the Ukraine because of the fucking back channel news he was getting from fucking... By the way, I'm not going to call him Gigliani anymore. I'm going to call him Fuliani because he's a fucking fool.
Yep.
So Fuliani, I guess, was in contact with the corrupt Ukrainian prosecutor that, like, the prime minister was trying to get rid of. And this guy's like, yeah, you know what? I think we do have those servers. Yeah, you should tell Trump to investigate the Bidens and not me because I'm not corrupt at all. And so, of course, Giuliani's like, Ukraine, they tried to take me down. I don't like them.
You got to do the Giuliani voice. America! Remember?
Ukraine tried to take you down, Trump!
It's basically the monarch, I just realized.
Pretty much. G for Giuliani! I'm surprised he doesn't live in like a giant tower with a G on it.
He flies around.
My cousin. Hi for incest, because he really did. He married like his fourth cousin. No one talks about that enough.
He flies around in a giant cocoon, and he has like his henchmen number 41 and 42 going out and doing shit for him.
I'm
Or
surprised
what is
that
it, 31 and 34? I don't remember.
I remember Giuliani's gotten so crazy that he used to be like America's mayor. You know,
Yeah.
he had like that whole 9/11 thing to run on, and he's fucking forgotten that because it used to be. I'm surprised he didn't fucking fly around in an airplane shaped like the blown up Twin Towers just because.
That's what is instead of the monarch flies around in the giant cocoon,
Yeah.
Giuliani could fly around in the giant smoldering twin towers and being all like, "Remember this, America! Remember September 12th, 2001, when everyone loved me."
He rolled so hard on 9/11, yet he was never at any of those hearings where like the 9/11 first responders were like, "Hey man, can we get like a little bit of health care? I got like 5 kinds of cancer and it is bad, okay?" Yeah, Giuliani was never there.
Because him and his ilk always just used 9/11 as a prop.
I didn't see
votes.
Dick Cheney going, "As I got a second heart, I believe that these first responders deserve a second chance." Like nobody that like fucking masturbated to 9/11 was there years later when they had to fight to get 9/11 first responders like to renew their healthcare coverage.
Yep.
Like that's the most despicable thing I think. So many despicable things in the United States, but like that's one of them that just like we didn't just go, yeah, 9/11 first responder. You say you were there, healthcare for life, baby. I'm not even going to double check it. I'm just going to take you at your value because, God damn it, you stepped up. Nope, they had to show up. Like one guy that died later, like with deadly cancer in the act of dying, had to show up to the hearings to be like, yes, I'd kind of like some of my medical bills to be covered. I don't really want to be here today. It's pretty painful just to move.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fucking...
dying of cancer is fucking awful. I followed one guy's story really closely that a few years ago got prostate cancer, and I just sort of like watched his Twitter account as his body deteriorated and how he posted about it. I just found it infinitely fascinating to see what someone that was in that level of pain, like how they operated day to day. And
if you want to read a really good thing, there's a graphic novel about Harvey Pekar, who did a comic series called American Splendor, and he did a graphic novel called Our Cancer Year, and it's a graphic novel that basically documents like the year he went through cancer and chemo. Pretty heartbreaking read, but pretty necessary. But I digress.
It really is an absolutely excruciating process. Even if you do have the money to pay for it, it is some of the most painful stuff you can do.
Speaking of diseases and illness, recently, so we got these fucking hearings going on, and recently, Trump took an unscheduled ground car motorcade to Walter Reed Hospital to, as he said, quote, get phase 1 of his physical and visit a sick child. It was completely media blacked out. It wasn't on his schedule. Super weird because when the president goes to Walter Reed, he usually flies the little president helicopter. So whatever happened to him medically was so serious, they didn't even have time to get him in the chopper. They just had to drive fucking like hell in the motorcade to the fucking hospital. And to wait, we don't know what happened to him. I'm not saying it's cancer, but I am saying we can hope.
I'm hoping it's like a stroke or something, because cancer takes too long to kill people. I know we just got through saying how horrible it is, but with Trump, I kind of hope that whatever's killing him will speed the fuck up. And,
well,
save
cancer
America.
also, depending on what kind of cancer it is, it could be curable. With him, I'm hoping it's not heart stuff. I'm hoping it's like brain stuff, because once your brain goes, you're good. You're done. I hope it's something incurable. And they keep peddling these fucking articles where like, could it be syphilis? And I'm like, I mean, maybe, but
I don't care. Like, that doesn't... I don't care what it is. I just hope that it's very, very bad for him and that he steps the fuck down like ASAP due to medical issues.
I don't know what it is, but I hope
arrest his ass and throw him in prison.
I hope it's virulent. That's what I hope. But we run into a problem.
I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is. I just hope that one of the side effects is explosive diarrhea whenever he's in public.
I think I've told this before, but the thing I wish most on him, the cruelest thing I could ever imagine happening to him, is him going through a Flowers for Algernon thing. If you don't know about the book Flowers for Algernon, it was about this guy who was mentally handicapped, and he went through this medical experiment where they gave him this drug, and they gave it to a mouse at the same time, and him and the mouse both became like super smart over a very short period of time, to where he went back to the school he used to go to for mentally challenged people and just realized like how,
far gone he had been.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he sees the mouse beginning to degenerate and then become worse than it was before the drug, and he realizes he too is going to, lose all his intelligence and become even more mentally handicapped than he ever was before, and so he has, he's watching the mouse deteriorate as he watches himself begin to lose language and stuff like that. And that's what I hope most for our president. I hope he becomes like super smart, and then like as the impeachment hearings are going on, he's doing amazing things for the country, and he realizes what an idiot he's been. But then like he sees himself begin to decline.
That would be wonderful. And that is a brilliant book for anyone that wants to check it out, because the book is written by like the guy that's going through these experiments.
Oh, yeah.
And it's written as though it was written by him. So it's chock full of spelling errors and like very short, simple words right up until like he becomes brilliant. And then it's, it's gradually written at a higher and higher education level until like he is, so smart. And then it goes all the way back down to the basic beginnings. And it's heartbreaking. Yeah. But if that happened to Trump, that would be beautiful. A beautiful thing. The
greatest torture I could imagine is him becoming very self-aware and smart and realizing what a piece of shit he's been, and then just watching his mental faculties fall back a fart. See, I'm going through it. And he's like, no, disaster, I'm becoming me again. But barring that, hopefully it's incurable brain stuff. Hopefully it's like Huntington's disease or one of those really horrible diseases to where your brain begins to deteriorate and there's no cure.
It's also possible that he's just literally stroking out because of the pressures getting to him, because like he's having to see public impeachment hearings happening every day, and he's glued to the TV the entire time because on Fox News they're trying to say, he just happened to have a free weekend, but the White House makes his schedule.
Who the fuck goes to the hospital on a free weekend, even by the dumbest of standards, man?
They're lying about the whole thing because Trump said that this was phase 1 of his physical and phase 2 will happen next year, but physicals don't happen in phases. I don't know if anyone out there's like never had one,
buddy. Unless you're like Captain America and you're going through the super soldier serum, although even that was only one phase.
Yeah. Like my dad recently had like 2 phases of something akin to a physical because they were checking out his heart. And so phase 1 was like strapping a thing on, and then phase 2 was like after a week of monitoring it, like going and doing the exercise bike. But like that's a serious it was a stress test, but that's like a more serious thing, and not like everything's okay and there's nothing standard about it, right?
Yeah, he's so full of shit, like you were talking about. He was on what, Judge Janine or whatever the fuck her name is?
He sent his new press secretary to Judge Janine, and the press secretary is like, oh, no, it's perfectly standard and routine. He just happened to have a little bit of free time, so he thought he would knock that out. And, he really is the most energetic person in the White House. He has more energy than anyone. He works from 6 a.m. in the morning to late at night, and Judge Janine was like, he's practically a superhuman!
If he is if he is the paradigm of like human perfection, I'd like to die, please. Like if like that's what I have to aspire to, just like a fat narcissistic cheeseburger eating asshole.
And more and more people are starting to point out recently he can't even stand upright straight. Have you ever noticed that? Like he stands to where like the top part of his body just sort of slouches forward so that his butt like sticks out like a duck.
Yeah, he's got the worst body of any president since Taft.
Yeah, Taft was in way better shape than this guy. At least Taft could stand upright.
Well, Taft had to. Taft was a president at a time in which everything you did required an enormous amount of effort. Because Taft was around in what, the early 1900s?
Yeah, you couldn't even shit back then without having to go outside.
Yeah, you had to go outside to shit. If you wanted to travel somewhere, you had to ride a fucking horse, man. Like, that's effort. For days. Yep. Even the president. Maybe he's in a carriage, but it's still pulled by a fucking horse. I guess you could take the train, but then it's just this air-conditioned, bumpy box with, like, engine raids. So even Taft was in better shape. But, yeah, if you go back to the presidents like Barack Obama, amazing shape. Probably sexiest president we've had in a long time. Both Bushes, like,
I
real
actually
good
can't
shape.
think of one sexier. Like, no, not even JFK. I was about to say arguably JFK, but
JFK gets more credit. He had a weird baby face.
Yeah, he did. Like, I started thinking about that. He's like, he had kind of a pudgy face.
But I think people were so used to the president. People were so used to the president being like a weird, dignified old man that just getting like a young, like, hey, I want to have sex now, kind of president. They were like, he's a good-looking guy. But like, yeah, Barack Obama probably hands down the most gorgeous president, best body. The first president we've had in I don't know how long with abs, dude.
Yeah, like that just doesn't happen that often. Like Abe Lincoln probably had abs, but that's
Oh,
because he had to hunt vampires.
You know that Abe Lincoln was a ripply, slinky, muscly dude. You just read the stories about Lincoln's youth where they're like Lincoln stories take on like Paul Bunyan, where they're like, Paul Bunyan cut down 2 trees and 4,000 gallons of butter and skated around on flapjacks as big as a house. There's Lincoln shit like that with like, Lincoln picked up river rocks, used them to crush gremlins, and then climbed inside a dragon's ass and out his mouth. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, there was one about a gang of dudes that were terrorizing, I guess, a town, and then Lincoln challenged them to a wrestling match. The whole gang. And beat them. And then he became, like, his lackeys. That's a real Lincoln story. The dragon one wasn't, but that one was.
Yeah.
Because remember, back then wrestling wasn't like we think of now, where we're like, oh, pin them down. It looked more like the WWF for real. Like, people were gouging out eyes and biting balls off and stuff.
Well, yeah, that's right. There was no like standards that said you can't poke people's eyes out for a long time.
Yeah,
like
and Lincoln just picked all these dudes up with the scruff of their neck and like tossed them around.
80 years later?
Yeah, he like threw them around until they're like, "We love you, Lincoln." Like, that dude became president. That's crazy. Teddy Roosevelt, he was pretty masculine, but a lot of it was because he was like asthmatic as a kid, and his dad was like, "You need to exercise to be more manly," and he's like, "Yes, father, I will grow a mustache and do as many crazy manly things as I can."
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
So I love the talk about Abe Lincoln, but I'm like looking at the clock and
how much time we got left, Pat?
About -3 minutes.
-3 minutes. All right. We've got the impeachment hearings, which are going swimmingly, if not boringly. He's definitely going to get impeached in the House. I can't believe I would never I believe it with a 98% certainty. You will see a House impeachment, and because he's losing ground. 2 of his rallies recently, I believe the governor of Louisiana, a Democrat won, and the governor of another state running against a Republican that Trump supported won. He's losing political capital. And I think that as this impeachment hearing goes on, it's a long shot, but now there is a shot. I think he could lose support in the Senate if he's a big enough threat to their re-election campaigns, and he may actually get removed.
I mean, yeah, he's losing people in Kentucky elections, so it's possible. It's possible.
And who is the gremlin? Who's the gremlin king of Kentucky? Mitch McConnell, that smooth son of a bitch that fucking runs the Republican Party.
Turtle Tywin Lannister, yeah.
Yeah.
The kingmaker and the world breaker. The world shaper and the world ender.
We might actually be able to start to see the erosion of his political capital. Because remember, we said they only stick with him while he energizes their base. But if he's losing them elections now, that's a big fucking deal.
And a new poll came out that said 70% of Americans believe what he did with Ukraine was wrong. So, I mean...
I've heard that we're still only at 45% for impeachment.
No, that's wrong. It depends on the poll, but that might be like the Rumison poll or whatever it's called, the one that's always like way in his favor.
The Rumpelstiltskin poll?
Yeah, the Rumpelstiltskin poll. Guess his name and he'll weave you into gold. But yeah, so... There's a bunch of different polls. There's not like just one poll, but like the most reliable polls say over 50% want him removed, impeached and removed, and 70% believe that what he did was wrong. So that means there's still like a margin of people that think what he did was wrong, but just not removable worthy.
Remember, even if he's not impeached, even if he's not removed, impeachment is a huge black spot on anybody's record. And it doesn't matter what anybody says in the 2020 election. If he's impeached by the House, which he almost certainly will be, they'll be like, "Do you want a president that was impeached?" And people are like, "That's a bad word. I don't like that at all."
I mean, the GOP are just going to be like, "Do you want someone that would impeach your president?" And
yes,
then,
I do. I want impeachment to hang, what is it, the sword of Damocles? Like that sword that's always hanging over your head? Yes. I want impeachment. I want literal impeachment. I want a giant scimitar hanging above wherever the president is, and it says, sword of impeachment. And I always want it to be on a frayed rope right above the president's head, just forever. Just so we know that any moment he could be removed. And then maybe like a smaller sword for the vice president.
Well, I mean, Pence is caught up in all this, but there's no way they're going to let both of them get removed at the same time.
No, man,
but I mean, Trump is...
But Pence is a sitting duck. If he becomes president at any point during Trump's term, there's no way that Pence is going to win the 2020 election.
I would hope not.
He doesn't have the fucking gravitas.
Keep in mind, no, I mean, they would give him the gravitas, right? Like, Mitt Romney didn't have the gravitas until after he had, gotten the nomination, and then they like completely reframed him. They talked about him differently on the news. They showed different pictures of him. They made him seem like someone that could be president. Like they'll reinvent a candidate once it's clear that
they
they're
might
the
try, but
candidate.
I don't think he has the charisma. Remember, he has the charisma of a sex doll.
Yeah, it just lays there. But I'll also say that speaking of new crimes, like Trump is getting new articles of impeachment filed against him, like live on national TV, because former Ukrainian ambassador Mary Yovanovitch was testifying about how Trump tried to threaten and intimidate her into silence. And while she was doing this, Trump tweeted all kinds of crazy, intimidating threats to try and silence her. And so live on TV, they read these tweets to her and asked her how she felt. And she's like, yeah, I feel intimidated by that. And that by itself is impeachable.
The thing with her and him and what he does with these people is the intimidation only works when you have something to lose. If you're a career government diplomat, and you have been removed from your post, effectively your career is over. You're not going to get back into the diplomatic corps. You've been removed. That's the only job of its kind that exists. It's not like you're going to go be an English diplomat. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you've effectively ended somebody's career. What else could you possibly threaten them with? What do you think is they've got nothing left to lose. You ruined their career. And now you're threatening them with what?
Nothing. Like, I mean, I guess you can threaten their families, but which he kind of does do, but
that's like me threatening the president. It holds no weight because I literally have no ability to carry out any threat, which I would not make. I'd like to state for our FBI agent that's been assigned to listen to all these podcasts, I absolutely would not threaten the president. I don't believe in threats. I'm a rule of law kind of guy, but I do believe in wishes.
And I wish really hard that whatever he was rushed to the hospital for was a brain thing. Oh, do you think he has like a brain worm? That would be fun.
Do you think the little guy inside his head pulling levers and controlling him is getting sick?
That would be fun. Very fun. I mean, speaking of little guys that are pulling strings in his head, Devin Nunes did something very funny today.
What a fucking mushy-faced asshole Devin Nunes is.
They were talking to Lieutenant Colonel Vindman about the whole thing, and this is one of the key witnesses in the whole Ukrainian thing. And Nunes was all like, "Mr. Vindman, is it true that you don't really know who the whistleblower is?" And Vindman corrected him and said, "Actually, it's Lieutenant Colonel Vindman is how I'll be addressed." And Nunes just like paused for a second. He's like, "Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, isn't it?" No. Yeah, it's just funny how Vindman told him to eat shit in so many words.
Well, that's like if we called Devin Nunes a piece of shit and we didn't use his actual title, which is like fucking fat piece of shit Devin Nunes.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it's actually fat piece of shit Devin Nunes. Okay, guys? Lieutenant Colonel of fucking butt nuggets, Lieutenant Nunes. Okay?
A couple quotes that I just thought were funny. Nunes, who's suing a fake cow on Twitter, thinks he could fuck with a lieutenant colonel wearing a purple heart is a good metaphor for just how over their heads the Republicans are. And it's what you stoop to when the indefensibility of your case requires that you attack a man who is wearing a Springfield rifle on a sea of blue above a purple heart.
I'm going to tell you a secret about Purple Hearts. If you don't know about this in our military, it's a very high honor to get. Number two, nobody who gets them wants them.
No,
and most people that get them don't want them and don't want to talk about them.
Vindman still has shrapnel like rattling around inside his body right now, and they're questioning his loyalty to the United States. They're trying to say, "Do you have dual loyalty to the Ukraine? Is that where you want to be working for?"
I plan to get a Purple Heart to fake my sincerity. Yeah, that's a thing I do. If you ever know a guy who got a Purple Heart, buy him a beer and then shut the fuck up and leave him alone. Probably the nicest thing you could do.
Yeah, don't ask him about it. Don't do
talk.
That.
Just don't talk to him. Just maybe he doesn't want your jibber jabber. He's earned the right to drink a beer in silence and have it paid for.
Right. You walk up to him. You say, "Thank you very much for your service. Would you like for me to buy you a beer?"
I wouldn't even say that. I would say yes,
I would. I believe that would be polite.
I think they get annoyed with the "thank you for your service." I think there's just should be. I think it's an action. I think you go, I know what you did. This one's on the house. You have a good one, and just leave. You know.
Okay.
Maybe that's cryptic, but I don't. Like,
you know what you did. Oh shit, he knows what I did.
You know,
like
that would be
dead
like
wife's in the trunk or something.
It would be like if you were just like, "Hey Pete, I know your dad died, and I want to say thank you for enduring that sacrifice. Here's a beer. I don't want to remember it. Just buy me a beer and don't talk to me."
And as you're walking away, you see the police cop robot walking in behind you, and he's like, "He knew what you did. You clearly did something wrong. Exterminate!"
Fucking police cop robot. Adventures of police cop robot.
And the guy's like, "Damn it, I just came here to get away from my wife that won't put out, and I haven't had a cigarette in 2 weeks, and shit, now the cop robot's after me. And this guy just bought me a beer for no reason."
Not complying. Execute. Exterminate. Destroy witnesses. Burn down bar. Flee country. Change name.
All right, so if you would like for us to tell you how the police robot will kill you, write in to thosemuckrakers@gmail.com.
Ooh, that's a great
Tweet
one,
to us
yeah.
at thosemuckrakers on Twitter. Leave comments on YouTube. Leave comments on SoundCloud. I don't know if iTunes has comments, but
It does.
rate
I
us
don't know,
there.
man.
Give us stars.
Yeah,
And,
if you like us, but more importantly, if you don't want to be murdered by police cop robot, give us likes.
No, I figured people would be happier to be murdered by him or not.
Okay, if you
actually,
wanna
write into us and tell us if you would rather be murdered by the police cop robot, and if so, why? Or
No.
if you would like to be spared by police cop robot, and if so, why?
Or I tell you what, let's make it even easier. If you want to know what police cop robot would do to you, write in and tell us your crime. Real or imagined. What is your crime? And police cop robot will respond. In fact, I'm going to start reading all listener mail as police cop robot and find a crime inside it.
And if you would like for us to sick the police cop robot on Wesley, write in and tell us how you believe police cop robot could best torture him.
Or what do you think Wesley did? So police cop robot should come after him.
Yep.
Well, I don't know, man. I got nothing else besides policecoprobot.com/org.edu.
That doesn't exist. Just write into thosemuckrakers@gmail.com.
I can't get the fucking website. .org/edu. What the fuck?